So I think we at the great time now. Good evening, everybody. Could we confirm if you can hear me? Hello, Ibrahim. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure,
Yes,
I
we can
can.
hear you.
Okay, great. All right. So good evening, everybody. If you are joining us from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. So we're welcome to the Power Platform Business Series, the advanced class. Power Platform Business Series, just a quick background for those of us that probably we are new to that. Although I expect the names I can see on this call are not so strange. So, but just for the benefit of those that might be joining later or watching the recording. So this is the business series, this learning session that comes our way courtesy of the Power Platform User Group Nigeria. So what we do is that at intervals, scheduled times, we have learning sessions like this to share from what we know and we use back on the job, so that in a way we can assist ourselves, upskill, and get better at doing a number of things, most especially for those of us that we are using the Power Platform or we are in organizations that deploy Power Platform for use in the business. So that's what basically this is. And like I did mention, this is courtesy of the Power Platform User Group Nigeria. So we so much appreciate the leaders for making this possible, for availing us this opportunity to be here. And for this time, this business series started, I think we had a couple of sessions last year. So, but it's been developed into a more structured learning this time around, where we'll be coming up with some topics at scheduled dates to discuss with us so that we can better advance our skills as regards the Power Platform. And essentially at this time, these series have been divided into two. So we have the beginners and we have the advanced. So at this time that we are on the advanced call, the beginners call is also going on. So if you have people who might be interested in the beginners class, they just want to start out, or they've started but they've not gone really too far in the Power Platform space, we can share the beginners link with them. I'll drop that shortly on the chat so we can share that with them so they can join the beginners class as well. So on the advanced class, as well as the beginners, we expect that this should come in twice every month. So the second and the fourth Saturdays of every month would be when we will be meeting to further our learnings. So as we have a session today, the next session will be on the 28th of this month. That's 2 Saturdays from now, and that would be the way it would roll till when we announce that probably that will be the end for this year. So we have lots of activities for us and learning for us. So we appreciate every one of us who have time to be here with us this evening. We are glad to have us on the call. And so not to take a bit more time, I would quickly introduce our facilitator for today. Is someone probably most of us, we know him already. Ibrahim Ido is our facilitator. Has been working with the Power Platform for quite a while. He's my boss. So, and I would say that what we're discussing today is one of those things that he actually does very well. He has implemented that in a number of solutions, I would say. So we are talking about components in Power Apps. Some of us, we are aware of that. Probably because we have gone through documentations, but maybe we have not really seen some use cases around it. Or some of us, we are pretty much new to that concept. We've not heard of it before now. So that will be discussed with us today. We talk about the concept, the uses, and then we see practically how we can make use of that in the business. So at this point, let me hand over to my Oga at the top, Ibrahim. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Musin. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here once again, and thank you for shooting me on the foot with all this big introduction. I'm sure I can be heard, right?
Yes, I didn't do the introduction well.
I mean, my role here is not to facilitate, really. Well, maybe facilitate. I'm just supposed to anchor, or I'm just supposed to be the one to, control the mouse, while of course I have the audience or maybe other person to contribute, and that's why we are here. It's a win-win thing for everybody. I mean, we all have to join hands to upskill. To train one another. permit me to say that. But because, of course, yeah, what we're going to be talking about today is not something we're not all conversant with. I'm sure it's what we have all used at any point in time, which is components. And you agree with me that component is a beautiful concept that was introduced into Power Apps. It's just for, it's just for purpose of reusability. You are building an application and you find out that you have to create something multiple times, right? Okay, you create it here, you want to create, you are going to another screen, you still need that particular stuff and you have to recreate it. So why do you have to do that? So just create it once and be able to use it in different scenarios. So like I said, I'm sure most of us would have done that. So what component actually does is, it brings about ability to reuse that the control, so to speak, on several screens. And it's actually very useful when you are building larger applications. So in a typical scenario that I use it is when I want to be like a process and I need to have like an action history of my approvals. I need to have like an attachment. I need to see all my attachments to that particular request. So I actually use it because I have different screens I want to put it. Another scenario you can also consider is if you need to have a header and footer. It's just like building a website. In a website, there are some things that are common across all the websites, which is the navigation, number one, the footer, and perhaps the header. So for all these common controls, you just have to create them once, and you can now use them on different screens, right? So how do you? I'm sure all of us are conversant with the Power Apps environment. So and it's straightforward. Creating components is simple. It's just a normal way we create our application. You go to your app, you go to makethepowerapps.com, and you're able to, within your app, you can see components where you can create components or even import components as the case may be. So that's but of course today we're just going to look at it. For those of us that have used this on several occasions, you are also here to chip in your knowledge about component use case, how you've used it. And of course, for those who are new to it, it's just for them to also see, how this.
Right. So it's
how
just
this
business application.
Okay, so permit me to just share my screen while we do this. So what we're just going to look at today is just how does component works, and we can look at how to build a simple component to see how it works. So I'll go ahead to share my screen right now. Okay, so we're in this environment, our laboratory now, right? So we're going to go to, say we want to create a new application. Okay, so let's give it our application a name. Let's call it, what do we call it? What do we call our application? Let's call it payments. I usually use, I think I'm used to this let's call it a payment process, just so to speak. So we create our app. I think I can close all these. Okay, let me leave this. So this is, of course, we're conversant with this. So on the left here, we would see the component which is standing here. So we'll click on new, right? So like I said, the component we're trying to build is one that allows us to click. You click it to create a new request. The second one is to have attachments where you can see all attachments to that particular request. But the third one is one that shows the action history of that payment process. And the last one is settings. Perhaps if you have settings that relates to the payments process, you can have all your settings defined within that screen. We're not might not be building the entire process today, but it's just to show us the concept of components. So I haven't created this this component. In best practices to rename any control you create, I mean, almost immediately. So we're just going to call it CMP. So it's also one of the best practices that when you are naming your controls on the Power Apps environment, is best that you also start with the like an abbreviation of the control name. So for instance, we're creating component. For instance, we're starting with CMP. So which of course automatically tells anyone or that is a component. So if you are creating a text box, for instance, right? So you are starting with TST. If it's a drop down, you are doing a DRB. If it's a gallery, you are doing a GAO. So immediately when you want to use these controls, it's you can simply easily identify that control. So we call this CMP nav, right? Okay, so I haven't done this. So the next thing for us is now to create a property. Now, what are properties? Properties within components are like they are like how do I put it now? So these are the values you get in or out of your component, right? So if you look at it on the down right, you see custom properties, right? So you can actually define properties for this component. So we're going to do a new component, and so we'll be calling that component input is actually going to be an input component, right? So we'll call it items. So items in the sense that because we want to do we want to do a navigation. It's a navigation we're trying to create. So what it means is that we need to have like a table of items. So in that sense, it's best to call these items. I mean, you can also use any suitable name of choice. So far, you can easily relate with it. Description is not really necessary. Should you want to put anything, you can put it. But I mean, so at this point, you decide if it's going to be an input or an output. Now, in this case, it's going to be an input because you're actually sending in value into the component. So if you are getting value from the component, that's when you select out. So the type will be a table, because why we are getting an array of items for our navigation. So I will create this. Now, having created this, I also want to set the color of my components. I mean, so when I insert it on my navigation, how I want my navigation to look like, I would also want to set it. So what I will do is I'll go to the field property of my component and say, so let's assume that I want to set, oh, this blue is too sharp. Okay, let me look for another color. Let me look for, okay, yeah, okay. I think we can do this. This is also okay. Okay, so this is fine. So now we define other properties. We define other properties of our component. So we go to display. So we're going to have color. Now color is for our navigation. We're going to be having text within the navigation. Say for instance, if you're going to do new request, for instance, right, you need to have the color of that text. So what it also means is that if I'm defining it here, when I have it within my application, I can also define it. So I want to define color. So I will choose the type to be color. So I'll choose the type to be color, then I will create it. Okay. I also want to create another property called selected color. So selected color in the sense that, so when I select that particular navigation item, it should change color. I mean, I should be able to identify it, right? So this is also going to be an input, and it will be a color. So I'll create this. Okay. So one that I also want to create it is over color. So over means that whenever I over on that navigation item, I mean, it should show a different color to indicate that this is a color. This is the color that I mean, to show that this is what I have over on. So I'll call this overview. So it's also an input and is a color. So finally, what I'll do, another one that I'll do is selected field. So selected field is that whichever one I select, I want it to reflect that this is the one that is presently selected. So this is also going to be a color. Okay. So I'll do that. Now for the items I inserted earlier, I need to initiate it, right? I need it to have a default value. So for instance, the moment I created it, Power Apps automatically added this for us, which you can see is a table and it has different fields, but this is not what we wanted. So I'll just paste what I have here, right? So I have navigation item 1. Let me do this. Right, so I have navigation item 1. Remember that I said we just need 4 items on our navigation bar. So we need new request, we need attachments, we need action history, and we need settings. Now if you look at these things, they are not cast in stone. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to create. Also is this icon, for instance. You are not just putting icon.anything. It has to be a name that exists within SharePoint. Within Power Apps. I could use waypoint. I could use notes. I could use newspaper. Right? These are just placeholder. Okay, they are just placeholder. So I could have actually used anything. So having said that, I'll close this, and I've done that. So the next thing I will do is to insert a gallery. All right, so I'll go to insert gallery, then blank. Okay, so I haven't inserted the gallery. So what I would do is now to set the property. Now, for all of course, we all know that for any gallery you insert, there is a property of it called item. So these items has to be set to something, right? So by default, it's custom gallery sample, which is not what we want, right? So what we are setting it to is what CMP nav dot what items. So this item is actually an improved property of our navigation item. Okay. Sure, we get that. So it's actually an input property of this. So it's also be nice to rename our gallery, just like I said. So we just say gal nav. Yes. So let's rename it. Let's rename it as such. Now, so what we'll do next is within this, whenever I select any item within this gallery, what I want it to do is to navigate. So these are some of the things I want to achieve. So for instance, like I said, we're going to have new request, attachment, action history, and settings. So when I click on new request, it should take me to the screen of new request. So that means there has to be a navigate. To unselect of these, let me go to unselect. Okay, I'll go to navigate. Navigate CMP. Oh, sorry. Navigate this item. Now, if you understand what I did here, I mean, you should. So the items property of this gallery is what is items. Just like you can see here is items. So I'm part of the property of this. I mean, this item is a table which has different things. So let me go back and see. Okay. So he has, this is the name of this is the text of the navigation. This is the icon. Why this is the screen. So we're now saying that on select of on select of an item here, on select, so it should navigate to where this item dot screen. Now we're going to set the height of the gallery, which is this. So let's go to height. So we want the height of the gallery to be same as that of the navigation. So we say parent dot height. Okay. So say parent dot height. We're going to set the width. So normally the width shouldn't be big. I mean, it should just be small. So this is it. Then the Y property should be 0. So the Y property takes it up. Then the scroll property of this gallery too, we're going to look at the scroll bar. Should it show scroll bar? We don't want to see scroll bar. So we're going to set it to what? We're going to set it to false. So this is our gallery here. Now we're going to look at the template height. So what we call template here is in gallery is actually when I select this for instance, when I select this pencil inside it, so it selects the first cell. So whatever you do within this first cell cascades down to other cells. That's why we call it what? We call it the template cell. So we're going to set the height of the template cell. So how do we set it? We select it and we go up here. The same thing as template size. Okay, let me manually adjust it first. Okay, 250. So I'll say parent dot height. I can actually give it something arbitrary like 50, right? Which is more 100. It depends on what you want. I mean, but I can also programmatically define it to say height divided by say 8. Okay, it works this way too, right? So I can leave it like this. Then also, do we need to look at the padding? Do we need to look at the padding? Let's see, template padding. Okay, can give it 0. Okay, so which is cool, right? So I mean, just to recap, we inserted the gallery, we set the items property of it, where's it, to cmp.nav.items, which is the items property of the navigation, right? So I've done that. We set the height, we set the width, and we set the properties of the template size, yeah, so to speak. Yeah, this. Now the next thing we're going to do is, like I said, that if I select this icon, it selects the template cell. So within this template cell, I will insert an icon. So let me go to an icon. Let me just insert any icon. I'll just insert any icon. Okay, so which is this. Now I haven't done that. I will now set some properties of the icon. So number one is that which color do I want to give this icon? I'll go to color. Okay, color. Now I'll say cmp nav dot color. So cmv nav dot color. Okay, my bad. So it's actually showing black. I think I didn't change the color when I was defining those properties. So let me go back. Let me go back to the color. Okay, so I'm actually supposed to make it white. So you can see the beauty of components. Now imagine that I've used this component in several other applications, and I just feel that maybe because we are rebranding, we want to change the look and feel. I mean, all you need to just do is just come and update the component, and reflect across all applications that you have built or you have used this component. So these are components as it were. Now we're going to change the components. Let me go to icon. I want to change, so I go to icon. Then now instead of this, I'll say cmp nav dot. Oh, no. Let me say not cmp nav. Let me say this item dot icon. So you can see it's showing this for all of them, and the reason is clear is because while we're defining the items here, what we said was waypoint for all of them. So if you had selected different icon type, it would have it would have reflected or shown us different icons. Now, I haven't done this. We're going to insert. Okay, I think we're supposed to. Let me give it height. Let me give it height of 35. Okay, so that it looks small. Let me also look at the width. The width should also be 35, right? Okay, so this is cool. So the next thing for me will now be to let me see. Okay, let me insert. We'll now insert a text. Let's insert a label inside here. Okay, so this text will be, instead of dot icon, it has to be dot what's it? Dot. What's that property of this thing that we use? Let me check. Let me check this. Okay, I think we're just going to leave it. Where's it? Label. Okay, let me just leave it as let me leave it as text for now, right? Okay, so what's the color? We're going to, let's define the color as go to color. So the color will be this item dot color. Really, what's happening? Let me see. What's happening? Let me see. Value screen. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Let me see. CMP dot CMP nav dot color. Okay, yeah. So CMP nav dot color. So what will be the width of this text? Let me go back. Let me go back here and set the width. The width should be parent dot width. Okay, so the width should be parent dot width. Okay, then I'll centralize it. Okay, yeah, so it sits well now. So as for this, I think I need to, let me set the y to be 5. Okay, yeah. So let's leave it this way, right? So the next thing for us to now do is to add, let me see, yeah, text, and I'm trying to centralize. Okay, so it looks better this way. So the next thing is to add a rectangle inside this place. So the essence of the rectangle is to indicate the currently selected item. So I'll go to plus, and I'll go to rectangle. So for this rectangle, I would reduce the width to say 15, right? I'll reduce the width to 15. I'll set the X to 0. Then the color would be the fill color. The fill color will be CMP nav dot color. Okay, then I will set the visibility. The visible of these two. So here would say if to be an if statement. Sorry, there's a distraction. So if this item dot so okay, let me check if this item is selected, okay, equals to CMP nav sorry, there's a distraction. Okay, so sorry, I have a call coming into my phone. Okay, so dot no, there's no. Okay, so if it's this, then true, else false. Wow, okay, no, something is wrong. I haven't created something. Okay, sorry, let me create. I think I have to add another property called default. I have to add a property called default text, okay? Okay, so I'm setting this value to, setting the text here to cmp nav default. Okay, cool, yeah. So I'm setting this. So let me go back to my rectangle now. I'm saying if this value that this because of this would set true, else false. So something is wrong here. Let me see. Let me check. I think I should be seeing the white. I should be seeing the white icon on the disk, but let me see. I think I need to set the default value to let me see. Okay. Let me see. Do you have default here? Okay, let's set the default value here to oh, sorry for this. Let me just check. Okay, let me set it to nav item 1, right? So let me set the default value of these to is and see. Okay, it's not, something is wrong here. Let me remove it and see. The default value of this, let me set it to this. No, it's wrong. Okay. Okay, so it's actually showing this now, right? It's actually, so let me reduce the value of this white. Let me set it to. Okay. Now I haven't done this. I mean, you can see that the first item is selected by default, right? So now we need to set the fill property of the rectangle. I think I've done that. Where's it? Fill. Yeah. Okay, so we've done this. Okay, so what next? I haven't done this. Let's even check out. Let's check out how the component works within the app first. So let me come back here within this and let me create few screens. So I will rename this screen, for instance. I'll name it to new, right? I'll create another one. I'll call this attachments. Sorry, when you are creating screens, you need to always have these. I'll create another screen. I'll call this rename. I'll call it action history. Right. I'll create another screen that will call my settings screen. Now, I haven't done all of these. I will have to create a variable. So the essence of the variable is to automatically populate the items property of that navigation. So let me just copy something that I already have here, and then okay. Now I can actually have a button. Let me insert a button. I can have a button here such that on select of this button, it automatically generates that navigation. So let me see, variable nav, so new. Okay, why is it complaining about this? Okay, let's see. Okay, there's nothing like okay. Okay, so I have attachment screen, then I have my action history. Yeah, but okay, this one is wrong. What else is wrong? Yeah, attachments, icon.attachments, newspaper. Okay, I think this is wrong. Why is it underlining this? New icon.nodes, icon.newspaper, icon.settings. Okay, I think please let me confirm names of some of these icons. I think they are wrong. That's why we're seeing that. Let me insert the icon and see. Okay. Okay, there's no attachment icon, but let me just look for an icon here. I think there's an attachment icon. I think okay, paperclip. Okay. Okay, there's paperclip. So let's go back and say. Okay, there's paperclip. Okay, let me check. Is there newspaper? Okay, so there's newspaper, which is correct, newspaper. Which other one? Attachment screen. Okay, I guess everything is fine now. So sorry, I actually didn't, I didn't prepare this particular listing else. I should have. So I'll copy the name of this variable. So let me click on it so that it generates the variable for us. Okay. Okay. So I haven't done that. I don't need this once again. Let me keep this one here. Okay. So I would insert. Okay. Let me go back here. So I would insert the component here, right? So I would insert the component here. Okay. Then I'll set the property of these component items, okay, to this. Okay, now you can see the way it's looking. I mean, it's not looking attractive though. Yes, which is quite but you would see that the icons have actually changed, and yeah, we can increase this. So we can actually go ahead to work on this to work on the navigation. So for instance, this item, I mean, I guess is let me go back here and go to the items. So instead of nav item, I think I'll just shorten it. Okay, I'll shorten it and okay, so label, yeah. Let me check the defaults. Okay, so this should be, yeah. Okay, so let's go back here. So let's go back to the screen. So as you can see, okay, this is the nav. Let me have it shortened, right? Okay. Now let's play this. Oh, it's navigating already. So I will replicate these on other screens. Then for this screen, so I'll replicate this. For this, I'll replicate this. Okay. Now you can see that I've been able to actually have all of this navigation across the whole screen. Okay. But let's go back to our components. What it's needed for us to also do? So we need to look at some things that we need to change. such that on select, okay, we need to look at on select of some of the things here. So for instance, if I select this label, what should happen? It should navigate to a particular screen. Okay, I think we already did that here. We already did that. So let me insert, for instance, a label here. So we'll set the property of this label, that's connect this dot. So this dot select defaults. Okay, so we might. So let's make it big. Okay. Let me copy this to this place too. Let me copy this to this place. Let me copy this to this place. Okay, I haven't done that. I need to set something I'm missing, please. I'm trying to figure this. It's something I'm missing. I need to, the item 1 is supposed to automatically change. So there's something I'm missing. Just give me a second. Let me decipher that. Let me see, items, variable, yes. I need to set the default of this. Let me set the default of this. Okay. To I need to set the default of this. So I'm trying to figure. Anybody want to help? I need to set the default so that it change all of this thing change. I mean those item change. Who wants to help? I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing here. Let me see. Okay, let me see. Okay, I think I need to set the value of this label. No, not this. Let me see. Okay, let's go to. No, it's not supposed to change. So it's actually still changing to new. I mean, it's supposed to. I think I'll figure it out. So hold on. Let me go to items again. Let me go to items of this. Okay. Okay, let me see. It should be menu item dots. Let me see. CMD.default. Then default is what? Okay, sorry, I'm trying to figure where the problem is. Okay, when we go back to, okay, so let me go back here. Let me go back here. So when I go to, when I define this on this button, on select of this button, we're able to generate, okay, so it should be dot value, right? It should be dot value, okay. This, okay. Okay, so let's go back here and see. Wow. Okay. So sorry for that. I mean, so I mean, you can see that when I come here, let me see. Okay, something is wrong still. So it's actually showing you. So when I click here, I expect it to, okay, let me check. I feel something is still missing. Okay, so let me see. So once I click here, it should be able to take me to each of the different screens. Okay, so let's figure out where that issue is, right? Okay, let's look at this label. What's it showing here? It's showing, okay, let's see this first. Let's see let's see, where's the dot text? Okay, showing CMP default. Let me see. What are the properties that we have here? Dot default, right? Shouldn't be. Okay, so what we will do, I mean, so we can see clearly we've been able to create a component, even though we're not done. At least we can see that the components cut across the different screens. Meanwhile, we just created one. So what we need to now do now is I want to be able to click on each of these components at every point, and it takes me to the different screens, right? So the properties that we have here, this particular formula expression, will actually come to on app start. So anytime I start my app, it should run this formula. So what it means is that I'll just delete this. I'll delete this button, okay? So I mean, so going forward, we're going to build an application with this, right? But we just want to, I mean, get this component right. So what we'll do is that for on this new screen, we're going to have a form that will be new, and on the attachment screen, we have an attachment control, or just to see every attachment that has been added to this. Then on the action history screen is where would see an history of the request. So when I make a request, I want to log it. When an approval happens, I also want to log it. So at this point, I'll see it. Then on these settings, we'll be able to see, I mean, configurations as regards the application. Because our time is fast spent, I think I'll stop here. Sorry for the little itches that we have. I'm sure next class would be, I'm sure it will be smoother. So let me stop here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibrahim, for the session. Thanks a lot for taking us through this. I'm sure, regardless of what we've been doing before now, probably one or two ideas we've been able to get from this. Personally, for me, I don't think I've used components before now in any of the Power Apps that I've built. Although I can't really say I do much with Power Apps. So what with the components that we've been introduced to now, I can say that there is still so much to explore within the Power Apps. Not to take more of our time, because this is actually scheduled to be an hour session, and we'll try as much as possible to stay within the time that we've allotted for this. If we have questions or clarifications about something, please we can signify or mute our microphone so we have those, and we have our facilitator attend to that. And in the meantime, just to remind us again, for those of us that probably didn't join when we started, this learning sessions, the Power Platform Business Series, would continue. We'll be having 2 sessions every month. So this is the first for the month of April, and actually the first for this year. So the second session would happen on the 28th of May, Saturday. So the way it has been scheduled is to run the second and the fourth Saturdays of every month, and we have a schedule that is running to say about 5 or 6 months from now. So as we have started now, we expect that God willing, the series would continue to say like November or thereabout for this year. So to cover quite a lot of that, we will not be doing Power Apps alone. So now we've started with Power Apps. So after a number of sessions, we'll explore some advanced concepts within Power Automate as well. We go to Power BI and like that. So we have a well outlined schedule for this learning series, which I would implore every one of us to try as much as possible to take advantage of this to the fullest. I still expect our questions. If we have questions, clarifications to make, we can please quickly put those forth. And then, but my own question would be that, okay, Ola, please just a moment. My question will be that the components, the way we can transfer components onto screens, different screens, is it possible to also move them within, say, environment, or export them actually to be used in other tenants?
Yes, you're right. I mean, there's a component library. So the essence of the library is just is a place where all your components are residing, and you can always, I mean, use them in any app that you build. And in the same vein, you can export them to another environment to be able to use. Just like you can also export your app that you build within this environment to another environment.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim, for that. Ola, please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Hussein, and also Ibrahim, for this session. My question would be, what is the call to action, for us today? We've had this session. We know we have to wait till the next 2 weeks for the next session. But I guess specific call to action, are there hashtags that we should use when we work on those things that we need to work on Twitter, so that we can continue to learn before we meet the next time, so that learning does not stop with this session until we meet in the next 2 weeks?
Well, for me, I mean, many of these things, resources for many of these stuff actually exist online. I mean, we can also explore them and see how they work. I mean, the essence of this session is just when we have interactive sessions like this, it also allows us to ask questions, seek clarifications from each other or one another. So, I mean, but before the next class, I expect us to also read up on components. And for those of us who already have a fair knowledge of it, I mean, in the next class, we can also discuss anywhere we have issues and all of those things. But resources abound that we can use. Let's also try, even if you don't have a use case yet, just try, I mean, lay hands to just see how it works, and that makes sense.
All right. Thank you so much for the responses, Ibrahim, and we really do appreciate every one of us who made out time to be here with us this evening. Thank you so much, Amola Charles. I can see Emeka is here. I can see Rachel. So these are the leaders of the Power Platform User Group in Nigeria. Thank you so much for the efforts in putting this together. We really do appreciate us. So on this note, I think I'm not sure we have any further questions. So we'll be calling it a day now, and then hopefully we would like to see every one of us in the next session come 28th of May 2022. Thank you very much, everyone, and let's do enjoy the rest of the evening.